her soul. Text number 15 and 16. Lord Brahma, who is carried by a swan airplane, at first could not see where Hiranyakashipu was, for Hiranyakashipu's body was covered by an anthill. He spent so much time in one place that a big anthill covered his whole body. Couldn't see him. And therefore, his body was covered by an anthill and by grass and bamboo sticks. Because Hiranyakashipu had been there for a long time, the ants had devoured his skin, fat, flesh, and blood. Then Lord Brahma and the demigods spotted him, resembling a cloud-covered sun, heating all the world by his austerity. Struck with wonder, Lord Brahma began to smile and then addressed him as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The living entity can live merely by its own power, without the help of skin, marrow, bone, blood, and so on. Because it is said, Asango Yam Purusha, the living entity has nothing to do with the material covering. Hiranyakashipu performed a severe type of tapasya, austerity, for many long years. Indeed, it is said that he performed the tapasya for 100 heavenly years. Oh, that's many, many heavenly years. That's much, much more than simply human years. Since one day of the demigods equals 6 of our months, certainly this was a very long time. By nature's own way, his body had been almost consumed by the earthworms, ants, and other parasites. And therefore, even Brahma was at first unable to see him. Later, however, Brahma could ascertain where Hiranyakashipu was, and Brahma was struck with wonder to see Hiranyakashipu's extraordinary power to execute tapasya. Anyone would conclude that Hiranyakashipu was dead because his body was covered in so many ways. But Lord Brahma, the supreme living being in this universe, could understand that Hiranyakashipu was alive but covered by material elements. It is also to be noted that although Hiranyakashipu performed this austerity for a long, long time, he was nonetheless known as a Daitya and Rakshasa. It will be seen from the verses to follow that even great saintly persons could not perform such a severe type of austerity. Why then was he called a Rakshasa and Daitya? It is because whatever he did was for his own sense gratification. His son, Prahlad Maharaja, was only 5 years old. And so what could Prahlada do? Yet simply by performing a little devotional service according to the instructions of Narada Muni, Prahlada became so dear to the Lord that the Lord came to save him. That's nice. Whereas Hiranyakashipu, in spite of all his austerities, was killed. This is the difference between devotional service and all other methods of perfection. One who performs severe austerities for sense gratification is led to the entire, is led, I'm sorry, one who performs severe austerities for some sense, severe austerities for sense gratification is fearful to the entire world, whereas a devotee who performs even a slight amount of devotional service is friend to everyone. Sridham Sarvabhutanam. Since the Lord is the well-wisher of every living entity, and since a devotee assumes the qualities of the Lord, a devotee also acts for everyone's good fortune by performing devotional service. Thus, although Hiranyakashipu performed such a severe austerity, he remained a Daitya and a Rakshasa, whereas Prahlad Maharaja, although born of the same Daitya father, became the most exalted devotee and was personally protected by the Supreme Lord. Bhakti is therefore called Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam, indicating that a devotee is freed from all material designations and anyabhilasita sunyam, situated in a transcendental posture, free from all material desires. That's really wonderful. Text 17. Lord Brahma said, O son of Kashyapa Muni, please get up, please get up. All good fortune unto you. You are now perfect in the performance of your austerities, and therefore I may give you a benediction. You may now ask from me whatever you desire, and I shall try to fulfill your wish. That can be good or it can be bad. Let's see. Purport. Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Skanda Purana, which says that Hiranyakashipu, having become a devotee of Lord Brahma, who is known as Hiranyagarbha, and having undergone a severe austerity to please him, is also known as Hiranyaka. Hiranyaka. Rakshasas and demons worship various demigods, such as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, just to take the post of these demigods. Thus, we have already explained in previous verses. Okay. I have been very much astonished to see your endurance, in spite of being eaten and bitten by all kinds of worms and ants. You are keeping your life air circulating within your bones. Certainly, this is wonderful. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears that the soul can exist even through the bones, as shown by the personal example of Hiranyakashipu. When great yogis are in samadhi, even when their bodies are buried and their skin, marrow, blood, and so on have all been eaten, if only their bones remain, they can exist in a transcendental position. Now, I didn't know that. That's really amazing. Very recently, an archaeologist published findings indicating that Lord Christ, after being buried, was exhumed and that he then went to Kashmir. There have been many actual examples of yogis being buried in trance and exhumed alive and in good condition. Several hours later, a yogi can keep himself alive in a transcendental state, even if buried not only for many days, but for many years. Whoa, just imagine how scary that would be. Even saintly persons like Brigu, born previously, could not perform such severe austerity, nor will anyone in the future be able to do so. Who within these three worlds can sustain his life without even drinking water for 100 celestial years? Okay, it's extremely rare. Purport. It appears that even if a yogi does not drink a drop of water, he can live for many, many years by the yogic process, though his outer body be eaten by ants and moths. Wow, now that is amazing. Text 20. My dear son Viti, with your great determination and austerity, you have done what was impossible even for great saintly persons, and thus I have certainly been conquered by you. Purport. In regard to the word Jita, Srila Madhva Muni gives the following quotation from the Sabda Nirnaya: Para Bhutam Vasa Statam Cha Jitabind Uchate Budhaya. If one comes under someone else's control or is defeated by another, he is called Jita. Hiranyakashipu's austerity was so great and wonderful that even Lord Brahma agreed to be conquered by him. Wow. Text 21. Oh, best of the Asuras, for this reason I am now prepared to give you all benedictions according to your desire. I belong to the celestial world of demigods who do not die like human beings. Therefore, although you are subject to death, your audience with me will not go in vain. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It appears that human beings and asuras are subject to death, whereas demigods are not. The demigods who reside within Lord Brahma in Satya Loka go to Vaikuntha Loka in their present bodily constructions at the time of the dissolution. Therefore, although Hiranyakashipu had undergone severe austerities, Lord Brahma predicted that he had to die. He could not now become immortal or even gain equal status with the demigods. The great austerities and penances he had performed for so many years could not give him protection from death. This was foretold by Lord Brahma. Text 22. Sri Narada Muni continued. After speaking these words to Hiranyakashipu: Lord Brahma, the original being of this universe, who is extremely powerful, sprinkled transcendental, infallible spiritual water from his kamandalu upon Hiranyakashipu's body, which had been eaten away by ants and moths. Thus he enlivened Hiranyakashipu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma is the first created being within this universe and is empowered by the Supreme Lord to create. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye, the Adi Deva or Adikavi, the first living creature, was personally taught by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the heart. There was no one to teach him, but since the Lord is situated within Brahma's heart, Brahma was educated by the Lord himself. Lord Brahma, being especially empowered, is infallible in doing whatever he wants. This is the meaning of the word Amoda Radhatha. He desired to restore Hiranyakashipu's original body, and therefore, by sprinkling transcendental water from his water pot, he immediately did so. Okay. I wish I had that water pot. Text 23. As soon as he was sprinkled with the water from Lord Brahma's water pot, Hiranyakashipu arose, endowed with a full body, with limbs so strong that they could bear the striking of a thunderbolt. Wow. With physical strength and a bodily luster resembling molten gold. Wow. He emerged from the anthill and a completely young man, just as fire springs from fuel wood. In other words, very brilliant. Purport: Hiranyakashipu was revitalized, so much so that his body was quite competent to tolerate the striking of thunderbolts. He was now a young man with a strong body and a very beautiful bodily luster, resembling molten gold. This is the rejuvenation that took place because of his severe austerity and penance. Yeah, but even that is temporary. It might be very much longer than ordinary people, but it's still temporary. Text 24. Seeing Lord Brahma present before him in the sky, carried by his swan airplane, Hiranyakashipu was extremely pleased. He immediately fell flat with his head on the ground and began to express his obligation to the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.23 and 24, Yapiyanya Devata Bhakta Yajante Shrodayan Vita Tepi Mam Eva Konteya Yajantiya Vidipurvakam Aham Hi Sarva Rajnanam Bhokta Cha Prabhu Eva Cha Na Tumam Abhijananti Tatvenatas Jivantite. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, me meaning Krishna, but it is offered without true understanding. I am the only enjoyer and the only object of sacrifice. Those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. In effect, Krishna says, persons engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is indirectly offered to me. For example, when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. The process of watering a tree is to pour water on the roots. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government and to other and to offer some bribe to the officer and directors is illegal. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita as avidi purvakam. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that there are many types of yajna performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yajna means Vishnu. In the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is closely stated that one should work only for satisfying Yajna or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization, known as Varnashram Dharma, is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Therefore, Krishna says, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices because I am the supreme master. However, less intelligent persons, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for a temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, although that is not pure devotional service, and he will thus achieve the desired results. Although Hiranyakashipu offered his obeisances unto Lord Brahma, he was strongly inimical toward Lord Vishnu. Oh man, that's unbelievable. This is the symptom of an asura. Asuras worship the demigods as being separate from the Lord, not knowing that all the demigods are powerful because of being servants of the Lord. If the Supreme Lord were to withdraw the powers of the demigods would no longer be able to offer benedictions to their worshippers. The difference between a devotee and a non-devotee or asura is that a devotee knows that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that everyone derives power from him. Without worshiping the demigod for particular powers, a devotee worships Lord Vishnu, knowing that if he desires a particular power, he can get that power while acting as Lord Vishnu's devotee. Therefore, in this Shastra, Bhagavatam 2.3.10, it is recommended, akama sarvakarma kamo va Moksha Kama Udharadi. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajita Purusham Param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desires, free from material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Even if a person has material desires, instead of worshiping the demigods, he should pray to the Supreme Lord so that his connection with the Supreme Lord will be established. And he will be saved from becoming a demon or a non devotee. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotation from the Brahma Arka. Eka stanaika karyatvad Vishnu pradhan yatas tata jivasya adin adhin natvan na vinad akritam vacha. Since Vishnu is the supreme, by worshiping, since Vishnu is the supreme, by worshiping Vishnu, one can fulfill all one's desires. There is no need to divert one's attention to any demigod. Okay, here it is. It's not necessary at all to worship the demigods. But the Hindus, they can't stop worshiping demigods because of their ignorance. Text 25. Then, getting up from the ground and seeing Lord Brahma before him, the head of the Daityas was overwhelmed by jubilation. That's nice. With tears in his eyes, his whole body shivering, he began praying in a humble mood, with folded hands and a faltering voice to satisfy Lord Brahma. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time. And then again, during the next day, that self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Lord Brahma is the shelter of those modes of nature: Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. Purport: the words Abin Gyanag Jagad Idam refer to he who creates this cosmic manifestation. The original creator is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Janmada Shayata. Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. When Lord Brahma is empowered by Lord Krishna as the engineer to create the phenomenal world, he becomes the supremely powerful feature within this universe. The total material energy is created by Krishna, and later, taking advantage of all that has been necessarily created, Lord Brahma engineers the entire phenomenal universe. At the end of Lord Brahma's day, everything up to Swargaloka is inundated with water. And the next morning, when there is darkness in the universe, Brahma again brings the phenomenal manifestation into existence. Therefore, he is described here as he who manifests this universe. Trin Gunan Rinoti, Lord Brahma takes advantage of the three modes of material nature. Prakriti, material nature, is described here as Tri Vrita, the source of the three material modes. Srila Madhvacharya comments in this connection that Tri Vrita means Prakrita. Thus, Lord Krishna is the original creator, and Lord Brahma is the original engineer. Text 28. I offer my obeisances to the original personality within this universe, Lord Brahma, who is cognizant and who can apply his mind and apply his mind and realized intelligence in creating this cosmic manifestation. It is because of his activities that everything within the universe is visible. He is therefore the cause of all manifestation. Purport by his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Vedanta Sutra begins by declaring that the absolute person is the original source of all creation. Janmadhyasya yata. One may ask whether Lord Brahma is the supreme absolute person. No, the supreme absolute person is Krishna. Brahma receives his mind, intelligence, materials, and everything else from Krishna. And then he becomes the secondary creator, the engineer of this universe. In this regard, we may note that the creation does not take place accidentally because of the explosion of a chunk nonsense philosophy of the Mayavadis and so-called nonsense scientists today. Nothing has come from a chunk. Such nonsensical theories are not accepted by Vedic students. The first created living being is Brahma, who is endowed with perfect knowledge and intelligence by the Lord. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye. Although Brahma is the first created being, he is not independent, for he receives help from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Through his heart, there is no one but Brahma at the time of creation, and therefore he receives his intelligence directly from the Lord through the heart. This has been discussed in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, see, this is very profound philosophy. There's no such thing as what you would call everything beginning from some big bang. The Big Bang Theory is big nonsense. And the real, let's say, source of creation and maintenance and destruction is stated here. Brahma receives his mind, intelligence, materials, and everything else from Krishna. And then he becomes the secondary creator, the engineer of the universe. So there's no such thing as everything begins from a big chunk. There's no such thing as a big chunk or a big rock or a big explosion. How stupid can people be to believe such nonsense? In this regard, we may note that the creation does not take place accidentally because of the explosion of a chunk. Such nonsensical theories are not accepted by Vedic students. The first created living being is Brahma, who is endowed with perfect knowledge and intelligence by the Lord. Yes, there's no such thing as, well, in the beginning, there was a big chunk and there was a big bang theory, the Big Bang theory. And from that, everything else was developed. That is not true at all. It's like stupid. How can everything be created by a Big Bang? There is no one but Brahma at the time of creation, and therefore he receives his intelligence directly from the Lord through the heart. This has been discussed in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Brahma is described in this verse as the original cause of the cosmic manifestation. And this applies to his position in the material world. There are many, many such controllers, all of whom are created by the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. This is illustrated by an incident described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Brahma of this particular universe was invited by Krishna to Dwarka, he thought that he was the only Brahma. Therefore, when Krishna inquired from his servant which Brahma was at the door to visit, Lord Brahma was surprised. He replied that the course of Lord Brahma, the father of the four Kumaras, was waiting at the door. Later, Lord Brahma asked Krishna why he had inquired which Brahma had come. He was then informed that there are millions of other Brahmas because there are millions of universes. Krishna then called all the Brahmas, who immediately came to visit him. The Chaturmukha Brahma, the four-headed Brahma of this universe, thought himself a very insignificant creature in the presence of so many Brahmas with so many heads. Thus, although there is a Brahma who is the engineer of each universe, Krishna is the original source of all of them. Haribol. There's no, there's no nonsensical theory. Everything began by a big chunk and an explosion. If I make a big explosion in your kitchen, you think everything will become living from that? No, not at all. It's just a phony nonsense philosophy. Text 29. Your Lordship, being the origin of life of this material world. Yeah, okay. Right there is the proof. Life comes from life. It doesn't come from a chunk. It doesn't come from a big bang. Your Lordship, being the origin of the life of this material world, is the master and controller of living entities, both moving and stationary, and you inspire their consciousness. You maintain the mind and the acting and knowledge acquiring senses. And therefore, you are the great controller of all the material elements and their qualities, and you are the controller of all desires. Okay. Now we're reading the real philosophy. There's no hint of a chunk that blows up, and from there, all life is created. That is complete nonsense. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the original source of everything is life, and not a chunk that blows up. That's not the source of everything. Brahma was instructed by the supreme life, Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living entity. Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. And Brahma is also a living entity. But the original source of Brahma is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Mata Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Oh, Dhananjaya. Oh, I'm sorry, Arjuna. There is no truth superior to me. That's the end of the quote. Krishna is the original source of Brahma, who is the original source of this universe. Brahma is a representative of Krishna, and therefore all the qualities and activities of Krishna are also present in Lord Brahma. Okay, so for the scientists, let us now state unequivocally that everything is created and comes from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no theory that is valid by the concept of some big chunk that explodes and then everything is created from that chunk. That chunk is dunk. Is how stupid can they be? Life comes from life. It doesn't come from dead matter. Text 30, my dear Lord, by your form as the Vedas personified and through knowledge relating to the activities of all the Yajnik Brahmanas, you spread the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of the 7 kinds of sacrifice, headed by Agnistoma. Indeed, you inspire the Yajnik Brahmanas to perform the rituals mentioned in the 3 Vedas. Being the supreme soul, the super soul of all living entities, you are beginningless, endless, and omniscient, meaning knowing everything, beyond the limits of time and space. Wow, now that is a big, big statement. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, the knowledge thereof, and the person who agrees to perform them are inspired by the Supreme Soul. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Matak Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha, from the Lord come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Super Soul is situated in everyone's heart. Sarvasya Chaham Hridisani Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Herde Servajuna Tistate. And when one is advanced in Vedic knowledge, the Supreme Soul gives him directions. Acting as Super Soul, the Lord gives inspiration to a suitable person to perform the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. In this connection, 4 classes of priests, known as Ritvik, are required. They are mentioned in Hota, Advarya, Brahma, and Udgata. Text 31. O my Lord, your Lordship is eternally awake, seeing everything that happens. As eternal time, you reduce the duration of life for all living entities through your different parts, such as moments, seconds, minutes, and hours. Nonetheless, you are unchanged, resting in one place as the Supersoul, witness and Supreme Lord, the birthless, all-pervading controller who is the cause of life for all living entities. Very interesting verse. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This purport is going to be very interesting. In this verse, the word kutastha is very important. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated everywhere, he is the central, unchanging point. Wow. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hirdese Prijinatistati. The Lord is situated in full. Is situated in full in the core of everyone's heart. Okay. As indicated in the Upanishads by the word ekatvam, although there are millions and millions of living entities, the Lord is situated as the supersoul in every one of them. Nonetheless, he is one in many, as stated in Brahma Samhita, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. He has many forms, yet they are Advaita, one and unchanging. Since the Lord is all-pervading, he is also situated in eternal time. The living entities are described as parts and parcels of the Lord because he is the life and soul of all living entities. Being situated between their hearts as the antaryami, let me read that again. The living entities are described as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord because he is the life and soul of all living entities, being situated within their hearts as the antaryami, as enunciated by the philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference, achintya bheda abheda. Since the living entities are part of God, they are one in quality with the Lord, yet they are different from him. The super soul, who inspires all living entities to act, is one and changeless. There are varieties of subjects, objects, and activities, yet the Lord is one. In other words, he has no birth and no death. Text 32. There is nothing separate from you, whether it be better or lower, stationary or moving. The knowledge derived from the Vedic literatures, like the Upanishads, and from all the sublimbs of the original Vedic knowledge, form your external body. You are Hiranyagarbha, the reservoir of the universe, but nonetheless, being situated as the supreme controller, you are transcendental to the material world, which consists of the three modes of material nature. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word param means the supreme cause, and aparam means the effect. The supreme cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the effect is material nature. The living entities, both moving and non-moving, are controlled by the Vedic instructions in art and science, and therefore they are all expansions of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the center as the Supersoul. The Brahmanandas, the universes, exist during the duration of a breath of the Supreme Lord. Yasyaike nisvasitakalam atavalambya jivanti noma vilaja jagahandanata. Thus, they are also within the womb of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. Nothing, therefore, is separate from the Supreme Lord. This is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. inconceivable oneness and duality, Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. That is philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Text 33. O my Lord, being changelessly situated in your own abode, you expand your universal form within the cosmic manifestation, thus appearing to taste the material world. You are Brahman, the super soul, the oldest, the personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is said that the absolute truth appears in three features, namely, impersonal Brahman, the localized super soul, and ultimately the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. The cosmic manifestation is the gross material body of the supreme personality of Godhead, who enjoys the taste of the material mellows by expanding his parts and parcels, the living entities, who are qualitatively one with him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is situated in the Vaikuntha planets, where he enjoys the spiritual mellows. Therefore, the one absolute truth, Bhagavan, pervades all by his material cosmic manifestation, the Supreme Brahman, effulgence, and his personal existence as the Supreme Lord. Text for 34. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, who in his unlimited, unmanifested form has expanded the cosmic manifestation, the form of the totality of the universe. He possesses external and internal energies and the mixed energy called the marginal potency, which consists of all the living entities. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is endowed with unlimited potencies. Parasya Shakti Vividaiva Sriyate, which are summarized as three, namely external, internal, and marginal. The external potency manifests in this material world, manifests this material world. The internal potency manifests the spiritual world, and the marginal potency manifests the living entities, who are mixtures of internal and external. The living entity, being part and parcel of Para Brahman, is actually internal potency, but because of being in contact with the material energy, he is an emanation of material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is above the material energy and is engaged in spiritual pastimes. The material energy is only an external manifestation of his pastimes. Okay. Text 35. O my Lord, O best of the givers of benediction, if you will kindly grant me the benediction I desire, please let me not meet death from any of the living entities created by you. Whoa. Okay. Purport. After being created from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Lord Brahma, the original created living being within the universe, created many other different types of living entities to reside in this universe. Therefore, from the beginning of creation, the living entities were born of a superior living entity. Yeah, there's no like philosophy of Darwinism, Everything started from a one cell amoeba. That's complete nonsense. Un, 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 uh, uh, so the living entities were born of a superior living entity. Ultimately, Krishna is the supreme living being, the father of all others. Aham bija pradapita. He is the seed giving father of all living entities. Thus far, Hiranyakashipu has adored Lord Brahma as the supreme personality of God and is expected to become immortal by the benediction of Lord Brahma. But that's not possible. Now, however, having come to understand that even Lord Brahma is not immortal, because at the end of the millennium, Lord Brahma will also die. Hiranyakashipu is very carefully asking him for benedictions that will be almost as good as immortality. His first proposal is that he not be killed by any of the different forms of living entities created by Lord Brahma within this material world. Okay, well, let's see what happens here. Text 36. Grant me that I might not die within any residence or outside any residence, during the daytime or at night, nor on the ground or in the sky. Grant me that my death not be brought by any being other than those created by you, nor by any weapon, nor by any human being or animal. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Hiranyakashipu was very much afraid of Vishnu's becoming an animal to kill him because his brother had been killed by Vishnu when the Lord took the shape of a boar. He was therefore very careful to guard against all kinds of animals. But even without taking the shape of an animal, Vishnu could kill him by hurling his Sudarshan Chakra. Oh boy. Which can go anywhere without the Lord's physical presence. Therefore, Hiranyakashipu was careful to guard against all kinds of weapons. He guarded against all kinds of time, space, and countries because he was afraid of being killed by someone else in another land. There are many other planets, higher and lower, and therefore he prayed for the benediction of not being killed by any resident of any of these planets. There are three original deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. Hiranyakashipu knew that Brahma would not kill him, but he also wanted not to be killed by Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. Consequently, he prayed for such benediction. Thus, Hiranyakashipu thought himself securely protected from any kind of death caused by any living entity within this universe. He also carefully guarded against natural death, which might take place within his house or outside of the house. Text 37 and 38, and then we'll end with that. Grant me that I not meet death from any entity, living or non living. Grant me, further, that I not be killed by any demigod or demon or by any great snake from the lower planets. Since no one can kill you in the battlefield, you have no competitor. Therefore, grant me the benediction that I too may have no rival. Give me sole lordship over all the living entities and presiding deities, and give me all the glories obtained by that position. Furthermore, give me all the mystic powers attained by long identified, long, I'm sorry, attained by long austerities and the practice of yoga, for these cannot be lost at any time. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma obtained his supreme position due to long austerities and penances, mystic yoga, meditation, and so on. Hiranyakashipu wanted a similar position. The ordinary powers achieved by mystic yoga, austerities, and other processes are sometimes vanquished, but the powers obtained by the mercy of the Lord are never vanquished. Hiranyakashipu, therefore, wanted a benediction that would never be vanquished. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the seventh canto, third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Hiranyakashipu's plan to become immortal. Well, it's not only Hiranyakashipu's plan. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry want to become immortal, and that is not possible. That is a false narrative. Okay, so we will stop right there and start again with chapter 4 tomorrow. Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. If he can't have everything, then he'll destroy everything. Haribo. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Are there any questions or comments, my dear devotees?
Yeah, same as Hiranyakashipu. Everybody wants
Immortality. Yeah. Not knowing that we're already immortal.
That's the.
But he wants immortality in the material body.
In the current body.
That's the mistake. Yeah.
And that's because we identify ourselves with the body.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, body identification is the ultimate, what you would call the ultimate misconception of life. Identifying with a material body rather than identifying with the eternal soul. Okay, we'll stop right there and pick it up again tomorrow. Tomorrow we will start chapter 4. Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe.